Meet the boxer with probably the biggest balls in combat sports history.
You ever just let your balls hang out, B-Rye?
James Toney was one of the best boxers of his era. Fought Roy Jones Jr., fought Antonio Tarver. He was definitely no scrub in the boxing ring. He has a pretty good record of 77 wins, 47 KOs, and 10 losses, and 3 draws. He won major world championships in 3 different weight classes: IBF middleweight, IBF super middleweight, and IBF cruiserweight, and he held those titles from the 1990s into the early 2000s. And many people really sleep on his resume and just how good he actually was. But during the end of his career, many people were wondering what he would do next in his career. Would he keep defending those titles, or would he make a giant career change that would lead him to having probably the biggest balls in pugilistic history? Now, do you remember that heated debate that Joe Rogan had with Lou DiBella about MMA versus boxing and which is better?
Or pit bull fighting. Guys are elbowing each other to the heads. Guys are kneeing each other. They get into leg locks and start rolling around on the ground in submission holes.
Joe, you can't respond to that first, Joe.
How is that human cockfighting? You know what that is? That's actual fighting. You know what boxing is? What boxing is a very limited form of fighting. It's kind of a silly agreement. Say, like, we hate each other, we're going to fight, we're going to duke it out man to man, but we're only going to use our hands. That's it. What ultimate fighting is, it's the actual sport of fighting. It encompasses all aspects of fighting: ground game, kicking, punching, elbows, submissions, all the above. That's why it's much more exciting. That's why it's a much more dynamic sport. But it's a sport that encompasses one aspect of fighting. What ultimate fighting is a sport of fighting. What you guys don't understand, you guys are a dying breed. You boxing guys, oh, it's humans cockfighting. What you don't understand is your sport is getting swallowed.
The guys that's in the UFC couldn't make it in boxing, so they chose the UFC. I mean, they fight for like, what, 12 minutes, tattoo their head, put a couple piercings in their lip, in their ear, whatever, and go out there and fight for a street fight for 12 minutes.
He couldn't cut it in our sport. I mean, I got a 135 pounder lives with me that would drop him on his head. He would make it out of the first round, you know. So he's 150 pounds. It's taking him down would be easy. I mean, it's not. It wouldn't be a fight.
At debate between Joe Rogan and Lou DiBella sparked debate amongst fans, pundits, and actual boxers and actual MMA UFC fighters, to the point where James decided he was gonna go out and try MMA and began training at the beginning, late 2009, beginning of 2010, and was even signed by the UFC on what was basically a multi-fight deal. James decided to try MMA, and even Dana himself had reservations about signing him.
James Toney, you got to explain this to me. A lot of fans were almost deeply hurt that he was signed by the UFC. Explain to them why you decided to do this.
Yeah, it's, you know, to be honest, and I said this today at the press conference, I honestly can't explain it myself. You know, I'm the first guy to cry freak show and everything else. I like James Toney. I respect him as a fighter. I have for years, and he and I have had a couple of talks since he stalked me, you know, and we ended up meeting. And I signed him, and I don't know what I'm going to do with him. You know, there's a lot of things that I've done in my life that I'm very proud of, and I'm a proud guy, and, you know, of the things that I've accomplished, you know, coming where I came from. And I would never do anything to embarrass me or my family. And just so you know, I know a lot more than you think I do, he said to me.
You believe him?
What I said to him, I said, good, I hope so. So, you know, I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but we'll figure it out. And you know, will it be a freak show? No, it won't be, because what I won't do is it won't be a main event. It won't be, you know, it's not going to be the main event on the card. If people put down their money to buy this fight with James Toney, it'll be surrounded by a bunch of other great fights, and you'll get your money's worth one way or the other.
Then just like that, it was on. James Toney was going to be fighting Randy Couture, UFC 118. Damn, 222 pay-per-views ago. That's insane. And it was going to be one of the most watched fights at the time. And Randy Couture was and is no scrub. He was the first ever UFC's 2-division world champion, not simultaneously, but he won the heavyweight title. He won the light heavyweight title. He had 5 championship victories, and he was a UFC Hall of Famer at that point. So James called for Randy and was thrown to the wolves based on his own merit, because he wanted to test himself against that sort of caliber of fighter.
With the boxing champion turned UFC rookie, James Lights Out Toney, who faces Randy Couture this August, live on pay-per-view UFC 118.
Now, the giant question that everybody had was why James Toney is going into MMA when he has such a successful boxing career.
Why are you coming to MMA? What do you have to prove? You've done so much in your boxing career. Why'd you make this decision?
I have to fight, and plus, I can't get nobody here I am, one of the reigning heavyweight champions. I can't get the other champions to fight me, or anybody else for more. So, then when I heard that Dana White said MMA fighters are better than boxers, I had to put a hold to that. You know what I'm saying? So that's why we're here.
How much do you really know about the sport?
I don't know nothing about the sport. Just tune in August 28th. Y'all find out how much I know about the sport. So I'll tell you.
You're not going to tip your hand.
Tune in August 28th. Pay your $59.95 or whatever you got to pay for it. Tune in and watch and see how much I know.
Okay. Is that the fight is it Randy then David?
It could be Randy, David, or the Bitchko sisters. It don't even matter, man.
Randy Couture's doll. If it is Randy Couture's action figure, is it? Oh, look at that. Looks like he's got a purse and a dress. That is Randy. Now, have you been, practicing your maneuvers on this doll, or is this just to sort of make fun of him?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Another question that everybody had was, could James Toney keep it on the feet long enough to where he could land one of his big bombs and knock out Randy Couture? Can he learn in 9 months what people spend their whole lives trying to do? He talked so much trash that if he lost, it would just make a bigger, deeper hole from him. Then August 28th came 15 years ago. The fight happened. This was like two grandpas fighting over in the retirement home. 47 for Randy, 42 for James Toney. Damn. Someone put Life Alert on hold because these dudes were about to put in work, and before you could even log into your MySpace account, Randy Couture took James Toney down, ankle picked him Tony Ferguson style, and basically beat the brakes off of him. Literally was playing with his food. This was probably the easiest fight of Randy Couture's career.
People are chanting UFC.
I love this.
I mean, it was literally that simple. He did exactly what every MMA fighter would do against an established boxer like that. Take him down, put him in a submission. For instance, this was an arm triangle, and he got the job done. Nobody knew what to do with James Toney on the ground. Nobody trained James properly, so much so to the point where James didn't even know to tap.
He's going out. It's all over. Randy, the natural Couture, has defeated James Toney.
I give Toney credit for going in there against a legend in Randy. I respect James Toney for actually stepping into the octagon and not trying to get Couture to box him. Toney having the balls to do what Jake Paul will never do. That's straight facts. And Dana White had the perfect answers whenever he was approached about this fight, and for it not being a freak show.
I want to get your comments on can a boxer come into mixed martial arts, and if so, what do we learn tonight that a boxer has to do to really seriously compete?
Listen, I didn't try to sell this thing as tune in on Saturday night, you're going to see the most spectacular battle in a war. I basically said, well, what I was hoping would happen. Anything can happen in a fight. James Toney picked this fight. He came in. We're not after boxing. We're not trying to attack boxing. I love boxing, and I thought this question was answered back in 1993. But I got to be honest. We got closer to the night. My stomach hurt, and I was a little dizzy, and I was nervous because a mixed martial artist stepped in there against a boxer. But at the end of the day, it's a fight, and anything can happen in a fight. And Couture came out and won, and Toney lasted longer than I thought he would, actually.
And when Dana was asked about James Toney's career, he kept it as real as it gets. See what I did there?
Will we ever see James Toney fight in the UFC again?
No. James Toney is the IBA and NABO heavyweight champion. He's got an incredible career as a professional boxer, and that's where he should be.
And since then, no other boxer has even attempted to step in to the UFC octagon to prove their worth or even just show off their courageousness. However, we have seen a trend where MMA fighters, UFC champions in particular, will go over to boxing and box whatever boxing's best has to offer. It all started with Conor and Floyd in one of the biggest boxing matches ever. Francis Ngannou fought Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua for a bag. Jorge Masvidal and Nate Diaz had their rematch in boxing, their first fight in MMA obviously. Ben Askren fought Jake Paul in a highly anticipated fight. Anderson Silva fought Julio Cesar Chavez. Tito Ortiz in boxing, and of course Jake Paul. Hell, jiu-jitsu expert Dylan Dennis took on Logan Paul in boxing. Tyron Woodley had his series of fights with Jake Paul in boxing. And just this past weekend, we saw Darren Till and Luke Rockhold, 2 UFC fighters, boxing. Sure, you had Floyd saying, yeah, we gonna fight there next after him and Conor boxed, but obviously that never happened. Then you have guys like Ryan Garcia saying, oh, I'll fight Sean O'Malley in MMA. That'll never happen. We just have a ton of MMA fighters wanting to go over there and box strictly for the money. But props to James Toney once again, because this video is about him and how he basically did what no other boxer has the balls to do. And mind you, he was a world champion when this fight took place, similar to when Conor was the lightweight champion when he fought Floyd, which just goes to show just how good James Toney actually is. And yes, you have to give him credit and much respect, especially at a very old age, going in there and fighting Randy. It was very fun to watch, even though it happened exactly how every MMA fan thought it was going to happen. But Joe Rogan said something very interesting, and it holds prevalent still to this day with UFC 321 coming up. What we learned in 1993 still applies at UFC 118, and that's just a fact.